That's right. Thank you for
Oh,
that review. I mean, look, I'm sure you're just being honest, but it's since we're rolling already, just keep rolling. When you're creating and whatever it is, whether it's a movie or a screenplay or a book or a record or a painting, there's some point where you have your moment of inspiration and you go, this is a great idea. I've got to bring this to life. And as you're creating, you're going, oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. And then somewhere in the process, the period is replaced with a question mark. And you're saying the same things, but is this really good? Is this a great idea? Like your self-doubt creeps in and it's just unavoidable. And then because we're so ego-driven artists that now we're starting to think, well, am I just like blowing smoke up my own ass here? Well, and ultimately it isn't until people start to hear it and you start to get feedback that you find out if it was in fact real or your feelings or if you were just an idiot. And so far the reaction's been really good.
well, for those that are tuning in, you don't have to adjust your TV sets or your monitors or your phones. This is Dee Snider on the channel. Thank you for joining me.
Like I said, after that review, I'm especially happy.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing the review. Like I put my heart and soul to the reviews, and as you guys put your heart and soul into making the music, so
I was very impressed. Do you have notes on the screen in front of you?
I have a few, just a few notes so that I don't lose my train of thought. But I try to go as much as with my gut in terms of how the album felt to me, so that it doesn't feel like I'm just reading off a screen.
I was actually listening. Oh, wow, he's really speaking eloquently and without a lot of stops and starts or edits. I see a lot of people editing.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I get it, people. I mean, I do things like this and I edit things too, but I didn't see any edits. I go, oh, this guy's just like rolling. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I try to get it as deep as possible into the album, listen to it, feel the album itself. So then when I'm talking, I don't really need to look at a screen or take notes or pause or break. I just kind of want to go straight from the heart, how I felt about the record, how it sounded to me, and just kind of bring that out there so that it's an honest point of view.
Well, it was great. And so let's talk some more.
Yeah, let's talk some more. And let's get started with the title of the record, Leave a Scar. Is this a result of the last couple of years and the scars that have been left on all of us?
Well, 100%. I mean, this album is absolutely inspired, motivated by the state of the world today, from the pandemic to the political unrest that's going on around the world. I mean, the United States is leading the pack with insanity, but it's going on everywhere. You always hear, well, that's the Australian Trump, and that's the Brazilian Trump, and that's So I mean, it's something in the zeitgeist, something that's affecting us all. So that was really motivating. Leave a Scar as a title comes from the line on the chorus of Stand, don't leave your mark, leave a scar. And the realization that we really have to, if we want to affect change, we really have to make dramatic efforts in order to affect change, because just being casual about it, is not going to make a difference. And again, and I've been trying to leave scars my entire career, and I'm hoping this is another one.
You start by talking, our conversation started by you saying that you start off, you feel like you have something in your hands, that it's great. And then through the process, you start to have some self-doubt creeping in. Now, when you look at Leave a Scar and when you look back at For the Love of Metal, I think these two records are completely different. At least to me as the listener, they come across completely different. Was there something that you wanted to achieve with For the Love of Metal that you got close to, that this album allowed you to finally reach that final destination?
I watched your review and shared your review, obviously, and you said that, and that was an honest opinion. So I will not debate your opinion, because it is what it is. You say, what do you think of this? I said, well, this is how it hits me. And I go, oh, that's interesting, because I didn't see it as different as much as a continuation on the path, but some changes occurred naturally that affected the sound. With the first album, even though it's my fifth technically solo record, but with For the Love of Metal, I didn't know what I was getting into when I said yes to Jamie Josta. Jamie Josta said, you should be a part of this metal scene. I said, I would love to. Don't know where I fit. Jamie said, I know where you fit. I looking at the lead singer of Hatebreed and going, all right, what's in store for me here? I welcome the challenge. I love Hatebreed, but what's going to happen? And then there was this outpouring from the community with Mark Morton and Howard Jones and Lisa White Glues and Ali from All the Remains, may rest in peace. And all these people came to the party, and suddenly they were all helping me find my place and helping me understand this is how you fit in this world of metal, in the contemporary world of metal. Even though you're a legacy artist, you're a heritage artist. So after that record, now I know where I fit. Now I have a band. Now I'm ready to contribute as a writer. So now this time when we went to the studio, we continued on the path, but we don't need any outside writers. We got this. We don't need any outside musicians except for George Fisher. We got this. I don't need any studio musicians. I've got a band. We got this. So it was a continuation to me, but definitely it changed things because no longer was, Mark Morton contributing. Yeah. And he's a significant contributor to anybody's album, So now this is definitely, we've moved on, but it's heavy.
Yeah. And in this continuation, did this have an impact on your creative process? Like, how did you approach this record from a creative perspective?
Well, for the first time, I returned to the same producer and team that I had on. And I never did any albums where I went back to a producer. I never was happy. Here, the first time, I like this producer. I like this production team. Nikki Belmore, what a mixer, what an engineer. This is a team. So there was that. When Jamie, the main writers on For Love of Metal were Jamie and Charlie Belmore. So I said, I want to be a part of it. I've not written since 1995, 25 years, but I'm ready to be a part of this. And Jamie said, welcome. He said, you were welcome last time, but you said you didn't feel you knew where you stood on where you should be. I said, well, now I understand. I get what's going on. I want to be in on this. So that in and of itself changed things because whatever was, I call Charlie Belmore the riff monster. The guy has just got riffs for days. So whatever riff he came up with, Jamie would sort of curate those riffs and then bring them to me. And I would have my ideas like, oh, you know what? I got this song, I got to rock again, or I got this song, Stand. This is going to be perfect for that. So yeah, it was a new process, but I had learned to write with people during the Widowmaker days. With Twisted Sister, I wrote everything myself. I was very alone in the creating process, but here I had already had spent enough time working with other people that I was comfortable sharing the responsibilities with Jamie and Charlie.
And you mentioned Jamie before in Hatebreed and the legacy that he brings in, at least with the new fan base that associates him with that incredible band. So when you look at him, what kind of intangibles does he bring in that you feel like really make these records a little bit extra special?
Well, Jamie, over the years, in his own way, has become one of the voices of metal, of the contemporary metal scene, and he's a true fan of metal in pretty much all of its incarnations. He respects it all, and that we're on the same page with that. I don't believe you have to like everything in the metal community, but it should be a family, and like any family, you're still blood, you're still from the same bloodline, so you should support each other because we have strength in numbers. If we slice the pie that metal is in the music world, even finer by death metal, black metal, pop metal, hair metal, true metal, false metal, and we keep doing that, it weakens us, it doesn't strengthen us. And Jamie sees that, he gets that, and he has respect for all of it. So and his voice through his podcast, through hosting Headbangers Ball on MTV, which he did for many years, he has become a respected voice in the community. And when he says something, like now people, because of these albums, people are viewing me differently as where my place is in the pantheon of rock vocalists. Suddenly I'm just being seen as Dee Snider, not the guy from Twisted Sister, who I always got like, oh yeah, he's got a cool voice or whatever. But now people are just talking like me. I don't say this. They've been one of the great voices in metal. And now Jamie has been been waving that flag for a long time. He says, D, you deserve to be in that that top of that list. You've got that power. You've got that voice. People just aren't hearing what they need to hear from you to appreciate you and say, well, holy crap, I didn't realize how powerful a vocalist Dee Snider is. So that's because of Jamie, because he has that respect in the community.
I honestly think you've transcended the genre itself. Like I think you've become so part of pop culture now, of music, metal. I think your fan base is perhaps as big as it's ever been now. So I think you have to give yourself also a lot of credit for always being able to be on the front of that wave and not necessarily trailing it behind.
You know, I mean, my father just said that to me today. my 90-year-old father says, "I think you may be more popular now than you ever were." You know, and I don't know about that. Yeah, I know. He's it must be the gray hair. Just screw with you, man. Just screw with you. But no, you know, I don't know. It wasn't by design. All I just said is I got to be honest and true to myself. And some of the choices I made, people have scratched their heads and going, "What is he doing?" But at the same time, there was an honesty and a boldness, I guess, in saying, "Well, I never thought I'd be on Broadway, and I got an idea to do Dee Does Broadway." And my manager said, "Who's going to buy it?" I said, "Probably nobody, but I want to do it." And I don't. I've never been one of those people who's easily like put off or influenced by what other people think. I'm my own man. That has gotten me a lot of, when you put a lifetime of that, people give me respect for that. Say, hey, I don't always agree with him, but he always sticks to his guns. He always stands by what he believes. He's honest. He speaks his mind. He's straightforward. And you may disagree with him, but at least he's not full of shit, you know.
100%.
And so I think that contributes in a larger picture. And then maybe you start singing, and people start to realize, my God, he really is a voice for the ages, you know. And I don't mind that title, not at all.
No, I think you deserve it. And for this record, like you said earlier, you surrounded yourself with a great team, and you have tons of experience, albums after album after album. But there's always a little bit of a challenge here and there. Was there anything extra challenging with this record?
By the way, we're good to the bottom of the hour.
Oh, okay.
Time wise, we don't have to leave in 4 minutes. They give me, people listening, I have this schedule and they put 10 minutes rest. I'm like, what am I, fixing my lipstick? I stopped doing that in like 90 something or whatever. Anyway, yeah, I don't need to rest. The old man needs a rest. No, I'm cool. Challenges. Well, certainly, coming back to writing after 25 years, even though that was like riding a bike, honestly, it just, I just fell back into it very naturally. And I think it was because I had inspiration. I wasn't like struggling to find out, what do I want to say and what am I trying to do, and what I knew what this was about, and I knew what I wanted to do. So that made it easier. No. No,
it's good.
I didn't find it challenging at all. My voice, like I said, thank God, part lifestyle, part genetics. It was roaring and strong, and as always. And I didn't find anything out of my. As a matter of fact, as the years have gone by, I've come to realize I'm more capable than I thought. That's why you'll see. If anybody's listening, I'm part of a new Broadway production that's developing called Rock Me Amadeus Live. And I did a video for Love Hurts. And if you see it, I'm singing more like Dan McCafferty, clean, high, no rasp in my voice virtually at all. And people are like, whoa, you can do that? And I discovered in the last 5 or 10 years that, yeah. And I was part of a Broadway production called Rocktopia, and I sang opera with opera singers on stage. And it was the opera singers who heard me warming up, and they said, you could sing opera. And I'm like, what? And they worked with me, and I was like, holy crap. I was like on stage, and audiences would go crazy because no one would expect me to sing opera. So if anything, I've learned I have more faith in my abilities than I may have had 10 years ago, where now I'm thinking I'm not afraid to try virtually anything.
Yeah, and I think that that lack of fear allows you to perhaps experiment with things that perhaps before were a little bit, or you felt maybe they were a little bit out of your reach.
Well, look, one of the first statements I said in like 95 after the second Widowmaker. I said, I've overstayed my welcome. And that is that self-doubt that we all suffer through. I'm sharing that with you. We're all humans. We suffer, our minds play tricks on us, but it's that self-doubt. Like, I can't do that because I sing like this. So I can sing like this. And then I'm like, oh, well, guess what? I can do that too. So I have less and less of that self-doubt. But still, when the creative process is going on, it's going to happen, because when you're in a room creating in a void, and without getting any feedback from the outside world, and then when you bring it to people, like I'll bring it to my kids who are all metalheads, and they're going, "Oh, Dad, it's awesome. It sounds really good." I go, "All right," and then you go, "All right, they're my kids, though. It's still not you. It's still
Yeah,
not a
it still
completely
doesn't add up.
objective outside person." So until you get self-doubt's just a part of life with certain things.
When you injected yourself into the creative process and the writing process, the lyrics and everything that went into this record, did you have one specific goal in mind that I have a message to give and I want to make sure that we're going to hit it?
It was all message driven. It was the reason for coming back. It was the state of the world with COVID and the political turmoil that's going on around the globe. It was, the realization that this was a big realization that I, for better or worse, have become one of those voices for the voiceless. And even though my life and my world is, dude, I'm living a fairy tale. It was a rough fairy tale to make through, but I've got to the happily ever after part, and I'm doing great. I mean, life is amazing, but others aren't as blessed, and they have given me the platform, and they've whatever reason, people have gotten behind me and said, you speak for us, please say something, because we can't do it. Not everybody has that voice. So I realized this is my job, and I needed to step forward for others who cannot speak for themselves, and be a loud voice to speak for the voiceless. But I also realized, but another thing was, I wanted to be heavy. I love the fact that the contemporary music fans, metal fans, were embracing me. So Jamie calls me OGD. He goes, because I'm the one. If you hear more, you were saying, I hear more of the old classic influences. That was Jamie. I kept pushing. I'm the one who wanted Corpse Grinder. I'm the one who said more hardcore gang vocals. And he goes, OGD, man. He said, you just keep wanting to be harder and harder and harder. And Jamie's going, no, we got to find the balance. You're Dee Snider. Even though you can be, your contemporary sounding, and you embrace the contemporary music metal scene, it's important that you represent the past as well as the present. Mm-hmm. You're that bridge for a lot of older fans, so you can be that person who brings them along. And that's why I loved getting Corpse Grinder on the record, my idea, by the way, because nobody does that from my generation, from my world. Nobody acknowledges death metal singers unless when they're making fun of them. That's not me. But people from my generation look down on that singing. It's not melody. That's not real singing. But I recognize it as value. And people are flipping out that I've joined with George to bridge that gap. And I just the other day I was a fan. I said, I'm not a fan of that death metal singing, but it's pretty cool on your record. Pretty cool. And that's, yes, it's got value. It has a place. It's not love songs, but it's got a place. So I wanted that to be on my album.
Where there's the strength, I always feel like you're the kind of guy that you roll to the beat of your own drum. You're not afraid of saying how you feel on social media. In an era of cancel culture, in an era where everybody's super sensitive with everything, you're not afraid to just speak your mind, be honest. Where does that come from? There's not a lot of artists that are releasing an album these days and still as vocal as you are about the state of the world from your perspective.
Well, certainly it's something, that I developed over the years. And certainly it all starts with people telling me from a very young age that, I was not special. I was not someone who was going to be a rock star, someone who would be famous, someone would be rich, someone would be successful in that way. Told from my parents, they were just, if know your place, work civil service job and, would be an insurance, whatever. So it started there. And as I've become more and more empowered through being right and finding people interested in what I say and people buying what I'm selling, I don't mean literally, I mean, I just say like, yeah, we're interested in what Dee has to say. So I've just continued that. And then over time, with the strength that comes with that confidence, I refuse to be what's the word? I don't kowtow to people who are trying to tell me the censorship thing. Even today, it's more coming from the left than it's left. It's coming from the right, although it's your left, my right, left. But when I was doing the album, and I had a moment where, well, oh, I don't. Can I say that now? I was so angry with myself that I allowed those people to invade the creative process. That's not questions for me to answer. That's questions for lawyers to answer. Creatives should just create and then let some accountants, pencil pushers say, well, we can't do that because it's a very sensitive thing. Well, whatever that is, I was doing the song In for the Kill. And I was writing For the Kill, Fire at Will. And the little voice said, oh, I don't think you could say that now. And thankfully, the loud voice said, what the fuck are you doing? Like that's metaphor. That's what writers use. That's a tool. We can't use metaphor because it might hurt someone's feelings. And I've had a lot of people over the years also, good voices, loud voices, who had effect on me. Howard Stern and I were very good friends. The certainly outspoken radio personality.
Mhm.
And I was listening to him one day, and we're friends, and he was saying somebody called in and was complaining about something he said, and they said, I love your show, but when you made fun of X, that's where you crossed the line. So Howard said, and this stuck with me. He goes, let me get this straight. You're okay with me making fun of everybody else, but the minute I made fun of something that hit home for you, now I crossed the line. He said, you know what? If you called up and said, I hate you, you suck, you're mean spirited, and I don't like anything you say, I could respect that. He says, but to sit there and cherry pick what's okay to talk about and what's not okay to talk about, who are you to decide?
Mhm.
And I said, and that we see a lot of that. There's few who are like against all, things that offend people. They're very selective. Oh, I'm gay. I don't like you talking about that. Or I have a handicapped child. I don't like you talking about that. Or they're selective. No, you either stand up for all of it, and all of it's wrong, or you shut your mouth and just deal with it. And
Yeah, and I think when you were talking about metaphors, I think that's a lost art. I don't know. I think in today's modern day, everybody takes everything for face value. Like there's no more reading in between the lines, trying to understand the artist's point of view, where you're coming from.
this started with the Bible. Okay, the Bible is nothing but metaphor. It's just nothing but metaphor, and yet we got idiots who have been reading it and taking it literal, every word that's said. Oh, Adam took a bone from his ribs and created Eve. Fact, scientific fact. No, it's a metaphor, you idiot. These people drive me insane. Metaphor is one of the cornerstones of writing. A lot of the hip hop artists, they don't have to worry about that. They have songs like Big Wet Pussy, and there's no metaphor there. It's just straight talking. Maybe that's why they do it. It's like, hey, you know what? Why waste time with metaphor? Just say what you're talking about. This is a big dick. Suck it.
Just go straight to the point.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that hit me home with your record is that you guys constructed an album that has absolute no breaks. It has great fluidity, great playability from top to bottom. So was this work something that you guys actually put work into it in developing, based on the songs that you created, the best possible track listing to create the best possible structure for this record?
Boy, I would love to say yes to that, but the answer is no. And but it's also, I think it's interesting that as we were creating and, oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We stepped back from it and said, holy shit, everything is up tempo almost, and it's assaultive. I mean, I said what I've done, and maybe this came from what I was feeling up here and in here. You know, I feel like I'm punching people about the head and face for 11 songs, and I'm just like hitting you. And then after 11 songs, I suddenly stop and go, now that I have your attention, I've got something I want to say. That and now and stand, I literally practically talk at the beginning.
And that's going to be my next question for you about that, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, but I just realized it just sort of turned out that way. And maybe that's how I felt what I needed to do to get people's attention, that I had to be this intense and this assaultive. I need to shake people because they weren't paying attention. And I go, now I have something I want to tell you.
Because that to me was really like, it threw me for a loop, was a little bit of a curveball. Like I'm writing this album, I'm enjoying the fluidity that the album has, and then you hit me with Stand at the end, and I'm like, a ballad as the last track. I can't remember the last record that I saw this kind of feel coming into it. And it was like, wow, the last song? So was that really what you wanted? You wanted to punch me in the face for the duration of the record and then give me a little reprieve at the end?
I knew that I wanted Stand to be the last song for from probably the time it was created. I knew it needed to be the final statement, and the title of the album is the final line. Don't leave your mark, leave a scar. Screamed, and that became the title of the record. And that minute I wrote that, that's probably the most powerful statement I've ever made in my life. And it came like, it's one of those things that when it comes out of you, you go, wow. Like it blows you, your own words blow you away. You go, whoa, it's exactly what I wanted to say, but oh my God, it's so powerful. Anyway, but when the rest of the record was assembled, we realized there was nothing else on it that was remotely similar. It was just, just like angry. And it's not all, one thing I want to say, and unfortunately, I'm loving talking to you, bro. But I've got to move on to my next interview.
Yeah. We got to cut it.
Yeah. One thing I want to say is that I hope, and I think you said this. As a matter of fact, I'm listening to you talk and a lot of the reviews, and they're saying all the adjectives and adverbs that I hope people would say, as that it's not hopeless, it's hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to a song like We're Not Gonna Take It, and even there, yeah, it was rebellious and it was, all right, we're sick of this. But at the same time, it was like, we've got the right to choose. We can do this on our own. We don't need you. We've got this. Positive. The song Down But Never Out. It's not called Down. It's about our asses getting kicked by COVID, but never out. We can come back. We can rise up from this again. So I'm always trying to be hopeful, and that's what I wanted. The record, I wanted to shake people. I wanted to get in people's faces, and at the same time, I wanted them to leave saying, but we can do this. We can come back from this. We can win this battle. We can change things. So that's really my goal.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dee Snider. Thank you very much for your time, Dee. It was an absolute pleasure, honor to talk to you today about the record. Best of luck with the release on July 30th. Go pick it up. Leave a scar.
Thanks, brother. And oh, by the way, it's not even officially announced, but tomorrow's the official announcement day in the next couple of days. But I'll tell you guys, doing a live stream event on the 29th, live, okay, with my band, Leave a Scar live. We've got 1,000 tested, vaccinated people packed in a room, no social distancing, no masks. We're going to rock, which will be great. And new music, like songs we've got from The Love of Metal, and of course Twisted Favorites in there. It's premiering on the 29th. Go to metaldepartment.tv. Metaldepartment.tv.
I'll put it in the description of the video so people can check it out.
And that's the night of the premiere, the live stream. There'll be repeats after that. But and if you can't remember metaldepartment.tv, just Google Dee Snider live stream. It's happening on the 29th, the night before the album is officially released.
Make sure everybody checks it out. Support this legend.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready to rock again.
And you're not going to take any BS. And you're not going to take any BS.
No, clearly not. So don't get in my way. All right. Take care,
All right,
man.
Dee, take care. All the
Pleasure.
best.
All right. Bye-bye.